Welcome to the BVTV network, coming from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. I'm calling this interview Wisdom from Jerusalem. Many times I've walked the streets of Jerusalem, taking in the sights, the sounds and the smells of this ancient city, wondering at the many people who for thousands of years have been drawn to this center of faith and history. But today I'm not taking you on a travelogue. We're visiting Jerusalem, yes, to get some wisdom, but that will be business wisdom of true value to you. So strap in. We're going to talk about the art of questioning and much more. My guest is not just a scholar of leadership, but he has also walked the walk as CEO of one of the world's largest diamond dealers, and he's also been in other notable positions. So let's go enter the gates of Jerusalem and say shalom to IsaacMostovicz. Hello, Isaac.
Hi, and shalom to Malcolm. How are you?
I'm excellent, but I hear it's a little bit hot in Jerusalem today.
We have now this week the worst heat wave this year. Something that came from the Iranian desert without any political connotation.
Yes.
But that the weather fact. So, and we have today we'll have a 34 Celsius. Tomorrow we might have 36 Celsius. This in Jerusalem, which is cooler. Tel Aviv is even worse because it's very humid.
But you know, you're well known over there for making such fabulous orange juice, and that's a nice cooling down effect, isn't it?
Yeah. and the fact is that orange juice is not that popular any longer because Israel, as a high-tech nation, improved agriculturally. It improved very much. So what they do is they export knowledge, export seeds. But oranges, it's not what it used to be 40 or 50 years ago.
Yeah, I know. I'm going back, aren't I? Isaac, thanks for inviting us to Jerusalem today. Viewers and listeners, I'll be talking to Isaac in three parts. In general, in three parts. We're keeping it fairly loose because there's so much to chat to him about. In part one, I'll ask him why leaders find it hard to master the art of questioning. In part two, I'll ask him to take us through the sequence of correct questioning. And in part three, I'm going to show true value to you and let you see the power of Isaac's thinking, where I'm going to put him on the questioning spot and pose a made-up situation for him and ask his thoughts on it. But first, Isaac, can you briefly tell us who is IsaacMostovicz and how you help leaders?
I'm today what I called myself a business psychologist. Psychologists put people on the couch and try to improve them. I'm putting businesses on the couch and they try to improve the performance of the business. And the most important in my eyes is that there's no business. Business is something virtual. We have to talk about the people behind the business and about the leader who leads this business. And if we understand what motivates those leaders, then we can understand how to improve them, how to improve business. Particularly, I enjoy working with the leaders who lost their motivation. People who thought that they arrived to a certain level and now they are okay. And at that moment, they start to fall down either in business. We can see that the business arrived to a certain plateau and is not going up. They lose their physically, mentally. They lose their friends. Sometimes it hurts their marital life even also. So that's when you stop being motivated. When you stop running, you fall.
Yes, yeah. And that is, you know, you're on kindly on our BVTV Today's Leader channel, which is all about leaders today, not yesterday, you know, but the leaders have gone through quite a challenging time, haven't they, with the pandemic, and it's still challenging and still will go on being challenged. And perhaps they may not have had the skill set to be able to handle that. Do you think?
No, I disagree with this. I think that some will need support, but we tend to see things in black and white, and if there's a pandemic, it's easy because you can blame the pandemic for our failure. I had yesterday somebody, I discussed with him the Holocaust. You know, I know there are still alive, few of them, people who repeated the story of Job.
Yeah.
They survived the Holocaust. They lost all their family. They lost everything. Even they suffered physically. Their soul was intact, and they came out happy. And they are happy people. They built themselves up and rejuvenated themselves. So, and they were not great leaders, ordinary people.
Yeah.
And everybody can do it. So I know that there's a challenge, but let's look at ourselves and ask, what can we do about it? And I agree with one thing: don't do it yourself. Don't do it as a solo flyer. Have somebody next to you. Have a coach, a friend, a group of support that supports each other, because it's difficult.
Yes, yeah.
Otherwise, there is a challenge that you can master.
And yes, you do need somebody to talk to. Isaac, time for part one. So why do leaders, and this is all around the world, find it hard to master the art of questioning of their people and their contacts? And what's the danger if they don't question deep enough?
When I made my PhD and I kept on interviewing people, and all my children knew already what kind of question I'm asking, because the question is very, very simple. What is important? Why is this important for you, and why is that important for you? And the problem there is that although the technique is known since 1960, it was invented by a guy named Hinkle that nobody remembers, unless you are part of the family. Nobody understands what the meaning of this questioning is. And this questioning actually is built on intuitive answers. People ask intuitively. Now, it's quite difficult to ask yourself intuitive questions. And what I figured out is the answers are not important. Is how people answer to these questions. That means I can ask you questions, and you are going to answer, and I'm going to listen to something, to a certain music that it plays in the background. This is art. This is difficult, and people can master it. But it took me 4 years to understand what I'm doing.
Right.
It took me so and this is so important. This is so important. I remember when I finished my PhD, and they made a party for me, and my professor invited some of their friends, some people I knew, and there was one guy who had an institution in the university where I made my PhD, and he asked me what it was your PhD about, and I told him luxury. So he asked me to explain. I told him I'm not explaining, I'm asking. This is another aspect that I tell my clients: don't try to understand, experience. When you experience, it's okay. So experience it. Tell me what is luxury for you. And he mumbled something about a yacht that he doesn't have.
Right.
And after 2 broken sentences, I started to describe how he operates in his institution. He's a head of institution, but still has a board above him. And told him, you have a problem with your board. He looks at me, why? Because it's difficult for you to show a plan. You don't know how to write a plan. You know where you start, but you don't know where you're going to finish. And actually, when you write a plan, you know that this is the plan what I think today. But when but in 2 weeks' time, it is going to be completely changed. And boards hate it because they would like to have a clear view. He looks at me and told me, you made a research on me. I told him, no, you just told me. And then he told me, you use black magic. I told him, no, I spent 4 years on my PhD to be able, but I was so hard. It was just after I was examined for my PhD, after I gave a lecture. So immediately I could figure out how he operates. And it was, I was right on the spot with and that's how he was talking about one thing. I was listening to another music that he was playing that he wasn't even aware of.
Yeah.
So
do you think leaders need to understand your thinking there? Because if you were able to see him as you've done, to see that person there, surely they need in their own way to be enlarging and defending, otherwise anybody can see through them.
First of all, they should remember that they might be see-through. They might be transparent, even though they try to hide behind the answers, because the answers is not what it counts, but how you the answer to it. I remember when my postdoc, when I received one interview, and the first interview I had to read, and I told the professor who worked with me, he was my supervisor, and then I joined him, and I told him, Andrew, you didn't make this interview. He looks at me and tells me, how? How comes? How do you know? I told him, listen, that's what I learned. I look at the text. This is not the type of questions that you are asking. The knowledge that you wanted to glean from the interviewee, it's right knowledge, it's good knowledge, but I didn't care for the knowledge. I care for the way you presented the questions, for the way interview answered.
Yeah.
And
do you think sometimes leaders actually do that? They ask questions to get the answers back that they want, rather than finding out about the other person properly?
We all do it. We just have to be sensitive to it. It means I'm not an expert and a guru or something that an angel came from heaven with the kind of unique knowledge that nobody can ever master. I'm trying to be as open as possible, and I'm a simple person. If I can do, everybody can do it. Some will take them more time, some will take them less time.
Yeah.
But everybody can refine himself. The problem is that we try to be logic, and we are not. And we are not. Logic is down. Freud told us that we are motivated by subconscious. So as long as we listen to our subconscious, as long as we act according to our subconscious, as long as we trust our subconscious, and this takes time, we are critical. We're not critical toward the others, we're critical toward ourselves. Hey, maybe not. How do I look like? How do people think about me? All those kind of things. No, be yourself. Be sure in yourself. If you feel that you have to do something, make your own mistake. Don't be afraid to commit mistakes, because that's who you are. Right. Leaders are afraid of making mistakes, of listening to themselves, and they are great people.
Yeah.
No, I don't know of any leader who came to his position just because he was stupid and lousy and unintelligent.
Yeah. Or else he had a father that was in the position.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. It doesn't help.
Yeah.
They'll kick him out. They'll kick him out on in the way because he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. Yes, I got you. Isaac, before we continue to part 2, let me just remind viewers and listeners of your website address, which is, now viewers, obviously you can see it on the screen behind me there, but for listeners, let me spell it out. Now, listeners, you should know by now, pencil, right? All the W's, www.Isaac, I-S-A-A-C, Isaac, I-S-A-A-C, Mostovicz, and we're spelling this as M-O-S-T-O-V-I-C-Z, and that's IsaacMostovicz.com. Let me just read that again to you, listeners. Isaac, I-S-A-A-C, and the surname is Mostovicz.com. So pop along to Isaac's website there, and you'll find out a lot more as you look through his history and his story, what you can gain from being in touch with him. Isaac, let's move to the second part.
Before we move, let me suggest to the listeners that because I don't tend too much to all the places where I supposed to be 10, so people will get better benefit if they visit my LinkedIn page.
Yes, your LinkedIn. Yes, and you and I are connected on LinkedIn, so
yeah,
people can follow us through there.
And then you'll have a much richer information.
Right, I'm with you. And of course, LinkedIn is where often you do some of your great posts as well, some of your inspiring posts, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll enjoy a few nice stories also, inspiring stories.
All right, I like storytelling. Isaac, let's move to the second part. Now,
yes.
Take us through what you see the sequence of correct question, or that approach that you've just been talking about there. Is the sequence a straight line, or do you have to be aware and have the ability to manage twists and turns? I often think that, you can pre-plan a conversation or a question with somebody, but then something comes out and you've got to have the agility and ability to make that twist and turn. What's your thoughts here?
Okay, the first thing and the most important thing is to listen. Mm-hmm. What happened is that the sequence of questioning, and for me, for example, if I want to figure out something about a client, 2 questions, and I know everything what took me before an hour and a half, is asking a why question. This technique is well known in management. Keep on asking why, but asking like automatically asking why, that means that you don't understand what you are doing. And if you understand the levels that you are going, because every time you are asking why, you are going into a higher level, into a deeper level. And if you understand when you move from one level to another, when you stay just in the same areas, and you have to be very attentive to the interviewee, because by the time you ask a question, there's a certain moment they open up, and then the golden nugget falls in. Then you start to discover all kind of things that the interviewee didn't realize that they are going to talk about. Mm-hmm. You didn't expect it, and that what the most benefit from this kind of interview, for this kind of asking. Then don't be afraid of asking good questions. Yeah. And we are afraid of asking good questions. This is a different type of questioning. Another question that I'm asking my clients. In the early beginning, maybe the first question, maybe the 10th question, but that's the type of question I like to ask. And I tell them, listen, your life came to an end and you got 1 day extra. Now, what are you going to do in this 1 day? Don't tell me, hey, I have another interview to do with Isaac. Let's do it before I die. That's not. Or somebody will say, tell whatever kind of he's doing that. One thing I can guarantee you, they are not going to do what they are doing now at that moment. No. They are going to do something else. What is it? Many don't even know. So you spend a little bit of time about it, and maybe they can't do it because some burning issues and all. But that's what I want to do. And then comes this next question. Well, why do you wait until you die? Why don't you start doing it now?
Well, because it's a little bit early to start having a few bottles of wine with my wife, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. If that, the question is this: you leave this world and you want to look back and say, it was great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I want to be remembered.
Yes, yes.
And I lived very useful life because A, B, and C. Okay, we waste most of our time, but this one thing that I did, that was great. It was worthy. Was worthy all the hassle, all the headaches, all the suffering, just for this one thing. What is this one thing? Figure it out. Many can't figure it out. And when they figure it out, they say, okay, why do you wait? Start now.
You know, you're expert in this art of questioning, which is so important for leaders to grasp and everything. Do you think that too many people go into with hostile questioning, where I'm supposing that what's important is to get the trust of the person that you're questioning first to get them to open up, or am I wrong there?
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I was nasty once because I had a nasty professor who wanted to see my skills of questioning. And because I was supervised, I had my free hands. I knew that they are going to stop me when I become too nasty. And I started to dig into his soul by asking these kind of questions. And he opened up. He didn't realize that by opening up, we can start and look into his twisted soul and twisted mentality. And then that moment, they stopped me. Okay, we know that you know how to interview, go on. But otherwise, you sit with a client.
Yeah.
You sit with somebody that you want to help. And you have to check all the time. How do you enjoy it? How do you like it? And they come out. And the pleasure is when they come out with a smile and told me it was time well used. I've learned something about myself.
Yeah.
I start to realize something about myself. I start to think differently about myself.
Yeah.
They're happy. I'm happy.
I can't.
I don't want to show my muscles.
Yeah.
This is not my role.
It's so important to get past that barrier, that facade that so many leaders put in front of them. They think, that's the facade I've got to have, but behind there's something often gnawing away, eating away, isn't it? That could release their potential.
Yeah, I'm going on LinkedIn, and when I want to look for connections, and you see my type of clients, and many are putting facades. They don't tell anything about themselves. They're telling about their business, about where they have been before. Nothing. It's kind of boring because they put a facade, and there's no way to crack this facade. But when they start and talk, all of a sudden they realize that this facade is full of holes. It's look like Swiss cheese. They are open. They just didn't realize how open are they? How open they are. And then when you give them the feeling of empathy, you encourage them, they'll open up.
Yeah. Now that is important, isn't it? The feeling of the empathy. Otherwise, because if you've allowed them to open up, or if they've opened up to you, then you yourself have a responsibility to them, don't you?
Of course. I'm nothing. I'm just a tool for them to get where I hope they'll get. Not where I want them to get, but where they want to get. Sometimes they don't realize that where they want to get. But I have to hear from them that where I want to be. Okay, great. I'll help you. I'll ask you. But I myself, apart from maybe from the paycheck that it concerns me, the rest, I'm nothing. I don't care. I'm just doing a job. They are the kings. They are the center players. They have to improve.
Yep, I've got you. Isaac, for part 3, I'm going to let you show us how you help. Obviously, many of our viewers and listeners are be fascinating now because, you're helping people grow by releasing that almost inattention that they got there. I'm going to pose a mythical case study for you. Let's assume a CEO of a software company, and there are many great ones in Israel, and around the world, of course, follow us as well, is watching and thinks, Isaac's right. We don't question deep enough. If we'd done that, we wouldn't have missed that problem the other month, which has stunted our growth. So let's get Isaac in to get us good at the art of questioning. What would be your approach to that CEO and his or her team? Take us through a mythical workflow.
Okay, yeah, especially with the high-tech people and with the environment that is created here, the environment that want people want to impose on this beautiful industry. Look at the human aspect behind it, because when you talk to people, especially in high-tech, what your goal? Their goal is to be unicorn, to go on board and make millions. If you really are after money, go and become drug dealer. They're making a lot
Yeah.
of money. They're making a lot of money. What about you? No, it said, no, drug dealer, drugs is not for me. So what about it? Means you're talking about yourself. What is your goal? Why did you start this thing about? What happened? What will happen if your business fails?
Mm.
What will happen? Is the world going to go under? The fact that you weren't successful, the fact that you didn't make money, doesn't mean anything to the world. What do you want to bring to the world? What motivates you? And what motivates them is not the money; it's something inside them, something that it's their self-esteem that they want to grow. They want to express themselves through what they're doing, through their work. And this is what I'm trying to do with them.
Mm.
So if somebody says, I want to have money, this is not him.
No.
This is, and sooner or later, when they start to realize how they express themselves through what they do, through their product, through their offer, they started to realize that they're doing activities that completely unrelated. They start to grow the company. They start to, for example, to work on the share value of the company instead of trying to sell it. Because if I, for example, we are doing now an interview, I enjoy it very much. But if this interview is not reaching the public, it's not there. That means I want my product to reach the public through you.
Yes.
You want it also to be as spread as possible. So if I am an high-tech CEO, who is my client? Who is my client? What my client? What do my client want? Why do they want it? What is their real problem? Their deep problems that I bring the solution to them. And this is one of the questions I ask them: what is the one thing that you know best, that you enjoy doing it, and you are able to teach? And don't tell me that I'm an engineer, because I have 4 or 5 engineers between my children's. My children, the software engineers, and the civil engineers. I could see the curriculum. They have to learn this and they have to learn that, and this they like and that they don't like. And after they graduate, they start to work, and they all of a sudden start to learn something new. What exactly within all this mess? What exactly is this one thing that you really enjoy? Tough. This is a tough question, because the moment they gather and you ask, who is your client? And who is the client? When you deal with a large company, go to the CEO and ask him, name me few people. You know, they do market research. Say, I have thousands of clients. It means that I have to do big mass data research. No. If you interview well 20, 25 of your clients, of your loyal clients, you'll figure out what your clients are about. What are they looking for? What deeply they are looking for? Because they're not looking for your product.
Yeah.
They are looking for a certain mental satisfaction.
Yes.
And then you have to understand how you satisfy them mentally, and how what you enjoy doing and what you are excellent in doing it satisfy it.
Yes.
You solve this equation, your business is going to look differently.
That is fascinating as well, because I totally believe that too many leaders, or most leaders, don't get out of their comfortable seat and go and see the customer, but they think, if I'm going to go and see the customer, oh, I must sell them something. Whereas they don't go and, as you quite rightly say, listen, go and talk to listen and to find out about that person and the company and where they're going to and their challenges and who their customers are and so on. So that's very valuable results of questioning, isn't it?
Yeah. First of all, this is said. This is true, and this is said. What I enjoy most, because I'm dealing with people who have made it. That means people start with nothing, or start a company, grew it up, and have made it. Now they became very wealthy, and then they forgot about the clients. But remember, when they started, when they had to run around and to talk to clients, because otherwise they wouldn't be successful. They could have the most beautiful invention, but if they didn't have a client, they weren't able to grow. That means that they talked to the clients, they understood the client intuitively, maybe that I were not aware of what really attracted them, but there was some link between them and their clients. And all of a sudden, I've now the money. Now I can sit on the beach doing nothing and let the other work for me. They lost connection. So it's easy to them. It's easy to tell them, oh, go back to your clients, to your old clients, to your faithful client, and reconnect. And they know how to do it better than me.
Yes. Yeah. You
just need encouragement.
Sadly, I must leave the ancient city of Jerusalem, lovely city. In the busyness of business, though, it's easy to think speed is essential. So we'll just skim over that without any deep questioning, says most people. The opposite is needed. I think you've learned today that skimming over can spell danger and also lost opportunity. The art of questioning is important. True wisdom from Jerusalem, from an expert. So thanks for a great interview, IsaacMostovicz.
Thank you very much.